Somewhere in a fab in Hefei, a wafer, the diameter of a dinner plate, is being sliced into DDR5 chips that Samsung decided it could not afford to make anymore. The reason Samsung walked away is sitting inside your next artificial intelligence accelerator, a thumbnail-sized stack of 8 bonded memory dies, consuming the wafer capacity that would otherwise yield dozens of standard memory modules. That appetite, the insatiable pull of artificial intelligence on the memory industry, is showing up as a higher price tag on your next PC build. The twist is that the wall built to keep China frozen at the commodity tier just labeled the door to the exact floor the incumbents vacated. Samsung and SK Hynix did not abandon mainstream memory because it stopped existing. They abandoned it because high-bandwidth memory stacks for artificial intelligence accelerators return margins that make standard dynamic random access memory look like a rounding error. The restriction that was supposed to cap Changshin memory technologies at obsolete nodes drew a circle around a market segment. Inside that circle, by coincidence of timing and industrial appetite, was the vacancy the artificial intelligence boom had just created. 3 layers: why your memory costs more, who moved into the space that opened, and how the policy engineered to prevent exactly this outcome accidentally guaranteed it instead. High bandwidth memory is extraordinarily wafer intensive. Memory industry analysts, widely cited in trade coverage, suggest that producing an equivalent amount of storage capacity in high bandwidth form consumes roughly 3 to 5 times the fab floor resources of conventional dynamic random access memory, though no single authoritative public source has pinned a precise multiplier. Think of it this way: a bakery that makes both white bread and custom wedding cakes will eventually stop baking bread. The cakes take 4 times the oven time and sell for 40 times the margin. The neighborhood still needs bread. Samsung and SK Hynix have confirmed in their own earnings commentary that they are reallocating capacity toward high bandwidth memory at the expense of commodity lines. Consumer memory spot prices have risen from their 2023 lows, and the direction is documented in price tracking services, though the exact figure shifts every week. The thumbnail size stack wins every time inside the fab's planning meeting, and a standard memory module waits. That vacancy did not stay empty. It went to Hefei. Changshin Memory Technologies is the company most Western observers spent the last few years dismissing as years behind and irrelevant. What those observers mapped was a race to the summit: extreme ultraviolet lithography, sub-leading edge nodes, high bandwidth memory for artificial intelligence. On that race, the export controls worked. Changshin cannot access the advanced lithography tools required to compete at the top. The company's own public communications and Chinese state media confirm they have reached production milestones on 5th-generation double data rate memory, independent yield verification, failure rate data, third-party compatibility certification at scale. None of that exists yet in Western technical literature. Those numbers are company claims, not market facts, and I want to be precise about that distinction every time I use them. What Changshin found was that the highway to high bandwidth memory was closed to them by policy. What no one modeled was that the incumbents needed every lane of that highway for artificial intelligence freight and had voluntarily taken normal traffic off the road anyway. Changshin found the service road empty. Export controls kept them off the highway. The highway was already closed to ordinary traffic. I think the thing the export control regime did not model is this: the policy was calibrated to deny China the summit. Extreme ultraviolet tools, high bandwidth memory process equipment, leading edge logic. It succeeded at that. What it did not account for was incumbents voluntarily evacuating the base camp at the same moment. Denying the summit while the giants sprint up market creates a vacancy that no sanction covers, because no sanction was written for a market no one was trying to defend. Now let me name the 3 places that argument breaks, because it deserves that pressure. First, claim versus proof. Changshin's volume numbers come from the company and from Chinese state media. No published failure rate data, no Tier 1 original equipment manufacturer qualification at scale. No independent benchmark has surfaced in Western technical literature. Shipping chips and shipping chips that pass qualification at a serious customer are different things. Until that verification exists, every shipment figure is a company claim. Second, the node gap has physical consequences. Memory produced on older process nodes consumes more power and more die area per bit. In laptops and power-constrained servers, that is not a rounding error. It is a disqualifying specification for some customers, and it means the segment where Chongshin can realistically compete may be narrower than the headlines suggest. Third, high-bandwidth memory is not standing still. SK Hynix and Samsung are already multiple generations deep into successive high-bandwidth stacks, and the leading artificial intelligence customers are signing supply agreements years in advance. Even if Chongshin closes the commodity gap, the distance to the artificial intelligence memory tier is growing, not shrinking. Weighed together, the Chongshin 5th generation double data rate memory story is real, but unverified at the quality level that matters most. Their high bandwidth memory aspiration is distant and the target is moving away from them. Their actual near-term opportunity is the specific, unglamorous, price-sensitive tier that Samsung and SK Hynix's own strategic choices cracked open. That is a smaller claim than the headlines make it. It is also a more durable one. My read: Chongshin is not about to topple Samsung. What they are positioned to do is become the supplier of last resort for every system integrator who cannot get memory allocation and cannot wait for the shortage to resolve. That is not dominance, it is leverage, and leverage, fed by enough artificial intelligence appetite, redirecting the incumbents further upmarket every quarter, compounds. The restriction drew a box around Chongshin. Inside that box, by coincidence of timing, was the vacancy the artificial intelligence boom created. The wall did not stop them, it labeled the door. The appetite that priced you out of affordable memory is the same appetite that wrote Chongshin's market entry for them. No extreme ultraviolet required. Sometimes the most effective industrial policy your rival can run is the one you ran on them. If Chongshin ships a 5th generation double data rate kit that passes your system's extended memory profile but fails 6 months in, does that change the calculus? Or does it just mean the learning curve has a price tag? Drop your answer below. If you want the next layer before it surfaces in the tech press, subscribe and turn on notifications.